One of the things I wanted to talk about that's obviously very prevalent in the sport is eating disorders and bad relationships with food, maybe not like full-on eating disorders. Do you notice a higher prevalence in your female clientele?
Like my initial would be yes, but not really. It's pretty even because me and the guys have talked about this a lot, how the type of male that is attracted to physique sport a lot of times, just like female, gets in it to fix the way they look.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the admittance, like someone saying, I have this problem, I feel fat, I feel bloated, I just want to look good and whatever. Like, I think it's verbalized more by females, but the issues, if you know your athlete, kind of go both ways.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion, just as often. Like with males, they won't use the same words necessarily. And I've done this too because I'm such a dude sometimes, but we'll say it as like, I don't want to get too far from stage weight because I want to be in striking distance of next prep, but AKA like I feel fat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it'll be said differently, but I think more so than gender differences, it's like this sport just brings that up,
Yeah, I think if you were looking at like the general population, it's certainly higher in women.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you, like you said, once you get through the door of like physique competitions, I think we're all a little crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like and that's the thing that I like, the way that I perceive it, and like with all the things I've done, because I've been some real dark places because of it, but it's like it's not just learning how to manipulate your body composition. It's learning how to be like lightweight crazy, because that's what brings you to the stage, and then learning how to uncrazy.
Yeah.
I know there's better ways to say that, but it's like you have to learn to be obsessive. You have to learn to be ultra critical of your body. You have to learn to be ultra disciplined. You have to learn all these things that are markers of like, you got a problem, but you have to do it to get to the stage and look the way you want to look. And it like creates this version of yourself that is not just physically unhealthy, but by all definitions of mental health, like really bad.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part of our job is you have to teach someone to be normal again after that. And so that's the greater challenge or whatever.
Yeah, which I think even, people, I mean, obviously you coach tons of people, and a lot of the people I helped were friends at first, and then, formally taking on clients, a little while back. But it's a huge part of it is like, how do you get them to mentally overcome those obstacles, especially when, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but like I still personally deal with that at times, when I'm maybe thinking I'm fatter than I should be or smaller than I should be or whatever. And I forget who I was just talking to about this, but I know like my brother, I think, is a great example where when I was probably already 5 to 6 years into lifting, and so I was a lot bigger than he was at this point, and he was like 6 feet tall, 130 pounds, like really skinny.
Wow.
But he thought he looked amazing, and he was like, my body is better than yours, like all these things, and like really believed it. And I got him into lifting, and he looks way better now. He's got a pretty good build, and he's significantly less satisfied with his body now than he was before, because he's aware of it. He's in my group of friends, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, what is this chub I've got here? Why isn't my back bigger or whatever, And I think it's just because you become hyper-focused on these little things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one of my favorite things, but things that like I see come up a lot, right? Is like when before bodybuilding, the bar you set was so much lower for yourself. And once you know what 10 out of 10 shredded is,
right?
Like maybe you started bodybuilding and you were athletic, right? And you on some random ass scale, you're like a 5 out of 5 in the way you look, but you're like, this is all right. Like I look like I'm athletic-ish. Then you get to like 10 out of 10 shredded and whatever and jacked. Then like no longer is a 7 or 8 acceptable in your head.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, it sucks.
Have you found a way for yourself to be able to cope with that and kind of not care as much, or is it still something?
It's a long time. Well, it's like the whole, you say you care less and you're more okay, but then you're so much further along in your lifting career that you do actually look better at the same weight than you did 3 years ago, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So like I'm I would say like the most self-hate and like self-disgust I ever had was like maybe the first 6 months after my last show.
Yeah. After your last show.
Yeah. So like
wow.
I last competed in 2013 and it was with Berto, and I got like and he was my coach. He'll forever be my coach if I ever decide to prep again. But I did 2011, like I said, all crazy or whatever. I was really afraid to eat and still in that like I'm ready to get on the stage again. Like I know whatever. So I was like 114 or 15 pounds on stage, I think, 2011. Got up to like high 120s, and I was like, this is it. We're gonna stay here. Like no way am I getting too far. And then I was still living a real stupid life for like a couple years till I got with Berto, and we actually fed me a lot more without anything happening to my physique, like as like a pre-prep period together. And then we did my prep. So I looked a little better, but I hadn't eaten in like 3 years. So then it's like I learned enough now through watching through the MJ, through being a part of the team, through, like I knew I couldn't compete again. Like I knew it objectively. If I compete again, you're going to look the exact same. You need to gain weight. But damn it if it wasn't like the worst thing. And again, I'm doing this all on the internet. So like I've been doing naked weekly check-ins on YouTube for however many months now. And when it has to go the other way, I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So that was really hard. And I think I got up to like 138 pounds. Like it was like 10 more pounds than between the other two preps. And I was like, you look like shit. And I did, to be honest, like compared to now, like I didn't feel like I looked like I lifted. I had a lot of fat. And of course, like anyone, if you saw me walking on the street, you'd be like, oh, she goes to the gym sometimes. But that wasn't like what I was used to, And now, I've been 145 pounds-ish for the past 2 or 3 years, and I feel great. I feel like
that's where you're at now?
Yeah, that's where I've been for, actually, barring injuries, I've been about between 142 to like 147 pounds for like 3 years straight. And I think maybe that, like, it took me getting into a performance-based sport, which you really haven't talked about, and that's a whole other thing. But for me to overcome the hating myself and feeling fat forever was for me to have to like, one, get off the internet and like quit putting myself so openly online without clothes on. And not like in a trashy way, but like I was doing posing check-ins, all the time.
Yeah.
So like closing down my channel for those purposes, and become like caring more about skills and strength. And like powerlifting wasn't enough. So after I did like that time when I'm talking about how unhappy I was chasing powerlifting for a while. Because you hear how that works, right? You hear how a lot of people, for a lot of people, switching from bodybuilding to powerlifting is a really good strength focused thing to do, and it helps them. But it just wasn't, I don't know if it's because of my gymnastics background, but it just felt like more of the same. I don't know. And I was purposefully not doing cardio because in my head I was like, cardio's wrong right now because you're trying to gain. But I've always loved activity, and like, so I think it was just kind of a slump, and like I'm not too stoked with the way I look. I know it's necessary, but I think was trying to set the example of what someone should do in an off season, because I am a thought leader in this space.
Yeah,
to the point of me not having fun and not having like activity other than like squat, bench, dead, like, like my whole 25 years of life before that.
Right.
Like never getting out of breath, never running, never flipping, never like all the things. So it took me getting into basically functional fitness, learning the Olympic lifts, allowing myself to flip around, swing around, muscle ups, handstands, all that stuff. And what's funny is even when I started that, like I got a coach, I went on like full on the first 6 months. I even gained a little bit more weight, but I didn't give a shit anymore. Like I was having fun. And so then I've settled back down to where I've been the past couple of years, and that's kind of it. And now that I'm so far removed from it, I'd say I'm kind of like lightweight scared to ever bodybuild again.
Right.
Because because lifting and playing with food is like super fun. Like I now looking back, I didn't realize how I was like slogging through lifts because I had no energy.
Yeah. It's almost like I don't know, like people think of it as just like something they need to do now. you know, to get a little trophy, like even like a metaphorical trophy.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I feel like unless you're really into it, like you shouldn't feel like you need to do it. Like I've had people say, like, you know, I want to get contest lean. It's like, why? Why do you? A lot of people look to me at least off stage. They look worse because, you know, I can think of a few people who they were 180. What I call beach lean is like a term I use a lot, and they look great. But to get like really, really diced, they have to be like 155 or something. And maybe it looks good on stage, but you kind of look
tiny.
You look tiny. You don't have energy. And I'm not trying to give people an excuse to not do it. If you want to do it, do it. But I'm just saying, don't feel like you need to do it because, I mean, to me, even like I would say under like 8 or 9%, I feel so much worse. My sleep is horrible. I don't look any better. And like everybody who sees me tells me to stop.
Like, are you sick? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of those things where I think the gender, unfortunately, like does play a role in the like, I can't tell you how many athletes and fellow coaches or whatever after a prep when they're like, oh shit, I fill out a shirt now.
Yeah.
You know, and like that doesn't happen for girls. Like we're usually pretty stoked we don't fill out our shirts.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, I look like I lift in clothes now. So that's like
that
one of
is
the things
something
that dudes tend to like, and that girls, we don't get that experience really of like, oh, I'm filling out my jeans. It's like, no, we don't really want to do that.
Right. The only reason because I think on the whole, fat loss is harder for women. The only reason I would say the process like on the whole, I'd say it's harder for women, but something that they can benefit from or that they get is that for most women, when they lose weight, they're not worried, like you said, about looking too small, you know? It's just not a concern. You can kind of just lose fat and you might lose some muscle, but to 99% of people, you're just losing fat. As a guy, every little bit of muscle you lose is like, oh, you stopped lifting this week? Like, so that's the only reason I think it's mentally harder in that regard.
Yeah, I agree.